Welcome to the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign response to the coronavirus. I'm Pastor Keith Collins, and I'm here today to share with you our response to this current pandemic. Those that are coming behind me will have approximately 2 minutes to speak, and we have a great list of various people to share on this most important topic. The word poor is listed 205 times in the scripture. We believe in a liberation theology model, a model that liberates people, not just from spiritual debt, but also from financial debt. We believe in wealth transfer. Those things that are currently happening right now, you're seeing being proposed by the president, and even some of the most conservative leaders are now talking about giving people what they rightfully should have possessed a very long time ago. Financial debt, financial forgiveness is a part of the gospel. We are a poor people's movement led by poor people. We are a poor people's movement financed by poor people. We are a poor people's movement that does not receive any corporate funding. We are a poor people's movement that does not receive any foundational funding or major political funding. We believe in the restitution and reparation for all those that have been the most affected and those that have been the most disenfranchised. We believe that Western culture has weaponized the gospel against the poor, the very people the gospel was designed to protect and to inspire and to lift up. So we believe that there should be a vigorous response from the faith community, working hand in hand in conjunction with the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign. So we invite you to join us. We invite you to share with us. We invite you to support us as we continue the fight for the poor and to save those that are the least, the last, and the lost. Thank you.
Okay, Cheri Honkala. We need to know. Bruce says he can't hear it, so.
No. Good morning, Generals. My name is Cheri Honkala from the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign. I'm really excited, even though this is a devastating time, that we have generals from the North, South, East, West, and Midwest that are on this call, on this press conference today. This has gone out to over 8,000 media outlets, and we're encouraging people to share this as much as they possibly can. And at the end of this, we will have links on how people can get involved in the various different areas of the country. Poor people's bases, Poor People's Army bases. We're encouraging people to set up across the entire country. If you're interested in setting one up, we will have a link. You can set up your own base, and we want to encourage you to do the following. Food distribution in your area. Make sure that folks that are on the front lines are able to eat. Housing takeovers. The Poor People's Army has been doing housing takeovers for the last 30-some years. It's not enough for us just to negotiate and settle for, let's move this family into a tent or pass out hand sanitizer to homeless people. Let's push this envelope. Let's continue to demand a right to housing. We will provide medical advocacy. We will have online boot camps for political education. And most importantly, we will be dealing with the question of morale, with art and culture. And we want to encourage people to link up with the Hip Hop Congress and also Poets in Recovery. We are establishing a legal committee in order to address various different legal issues. We need volunteers. We need you to sign up. We need social media skills. We need drivers. We need lawyers. We need social workers, artists, and money. The U.S. left has failed us, all representatives and current candidates for office. We truly need you to make sure that we cut military budget now. It's not enough to just say, I need food, clothing, and housing. Let's cut the military budget right now. Let's deal with the real issues around both colonialism and imperialism. These are not secondary issues. These are central fundamental issues. Sign the Black Alliance for Peace petition asking for these things. Again, we need you to demand that they close the 800 foreign military bases across the country, and they bring that money home. Lives over luxury. Get involved. See us opening day of the Democratic National Convention whenever it ends up happening.
Next up, we have Crown.
Is Crown here?
Let's go to Tiny.
Yeah.
Tiny
Yeah, I'm here.
from the West Coast.
West Coast. Wait, is that me or Clemmy?
Tiny and
That's
Leroy.
you. Give us 5 seconds.
Folks that are watching this Facebook Live, next is Tiny. Who's that?
Okay, we hear from home. Excuse me. I'm Tiny, that housing, that poverty scholar, that houseless mama, that houseless daughter, all those people you don't want to see, never want to be. Look away from me. What you gonna do? Arrest me? We proud members of the Poets Project of Poor Magazine, and we hear some of us right now who are the part of the Landless Peoples Movement, taking back stolen Ohlone LaShawn occupied land in this area that's known as Oakland, an intentionally blighted poor people of color neighborhood. I'm just quickly gonna introduce fellow homefulness co-builders, all homeless and formerly homeless folks. Go for it.
Israel, former homeless, here to help build homelessness.
D. Allen, formerly homeless, been here since January 2015.
Tibu, resident of homefulness and one of the families here.
Muteado Silencio, migrante from Michoacán, Mexico, with Poor Magazine Homefulness, and thank you for including this in the Poor People's Army. Power to the people.
I know that, I'm not sure if Leroy's on yet. He's another fellow co-founder of Homefulness. There's many of us out here. Our statement right now is that all of us as poor people need to decolonize our minds from the lie of rent. Shout out to Moms for Housing. Shout out to the sisters and brothers in Los Angeles who are taking back these stolen and hoarded houses. We already know that the real estate snakes and the speculators and the developers, as I call them, continue to hoard Mama Earth when so many of us are on the street. What we are doing right now in Oakland, just because of us poor people coming together with fellow folks with race and class privilege, who are wealth hoarders, who've understood and overstood the idea of radical redistribution, is the very thing that Cheri just brought up. We are redistributing masks and gloves, healthy food, hand sanitizer, soap, all of the things that all of us need, because most of the nonprofit industrial complex, most of the poverty pimps have closed right here in the Bay Area. There is no more money to help us poor people, right? And so as usual, they close their doors, they say goodbye because they're gonna put their lives in danger. But guess what? Us poor folks, we've been living in the crisis called capitalism since the beginning of this stolen land project called AmeriClan. So ain't nothing new. Ain't nothing new under this sun. What we're saying is, as poor people, change won't come from a savior, pimp, or an institution. Change will only come from a poor people-led revolution. And we are all members of the Poets Project. Shout out to the Post in Recovery. We'd love to collaborate with y'all. Oh, and there's my brother Leroy.
Next we have Leroy with
Girls in the house. Shout out to welfare warriors in Milwaukee.
Oh, we have more to say, but I'm gonna concede the next.
Leroy?
Hey, what's up, people? How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Leroy.
All right, so I'm gonna go in. So this tells the broken promises before the virus. You know, people with disabilities have been broken promises from the government going back to the 1970s. In 1973, under the Education for Handicapped Children Act. Now it's called Individual with Disability Act, has never been funded since 1973. So if it's not funded, then it's not enforced. Another thing is when the Americans with Disability Act was passed, now it's being attacked. It's being attacked under Bush, it's being attacked under Obama, and now it's being attacked under Trump. 3, the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 took almost a year to get those laws implemented. People with disabilities had to protest for almost a year to get it implemented. So all of this of not enforcing our laws and not funding our laws, creates an emergency upon emergency, with emergencies from, Katrina back in New Orleans to the emergency now. People with disabilities are left out because A, they didn't fund our laws and they didn't implement our laws. And during the emergency, you see people with disabilities being killed, and in Katrina, hospitals were killing people with disabilities. And we have today, it just came out today under the news that DeVos, our Secretary of Education, wants to strip rights of students with disabilities under the so-called bailout. So a lot of people are excited about this bailout program, but we need to read between the lines because they're totally killing people with disabilities with the so-called bailout. So even after the emergencies, people with disabilities are not being focused on, and our rights are being taken away every day, from Democrats to Republicans to independents. So we need, more activists like the Poor People's Army and Poor Magazine to go beyond these so-called laws and say that we need social justice in a different way, from the people, by the people, for the people. Peace.
All right, next we have Chris Light from the South. You with us, Chris?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hi, y'all. My name is Chris. I've been listening to everything that has been said. Right now, it's just shit. Like, I'm an artist. I'm a poet. I'm a writer. I've been extremely blessed in so many ways to live my life.
Okay.
And what I want to say is, like, I admit my privileges to myself right now, but like right now, shit is not good. Like, my grandmother has cancer. It's literally everything y'all been talking about. My grandmother has colon cancer. My mom has just moved back into the house voluntarily. And the thing is, it's like, I don't know if we are so blind that we are trusting in a president who we know is impeached. You know what I'm saying? Running for office, and a president that we know who will abuse his power. Like, are we literally trusting in that as poor Black people? You know? it's just been like a spread of fear first, like, and I still to this day like don't know what the coronavirus is. Like, what I've been hearing is that it's a flu, so I'm like, it is a flu, like a upgraded another flu. It's another flu, cool. So what are the symptoms? Who's getting it? Who's affected? And I'm like, cool. Our most vulnerable are infected. I'm like, all right. So our response to that in itself has been getting ourselves ready, because we have been unprepared, because we have not been doing our shit as a community, because we have had deep wounds to heal. And even for us to get to this point is miraculous and amazing.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Now we have to, Sandra and Tara from the South, representing the East Coast, the South, Puerto Rico.
Florida, mid-central Florida. And I'll speak a little bit about Puerto Rico also, just things that we've heard. I just wanted to really quick comment on what the sister was saying a few minutes ago, that PPEHRC, I guess one of the other things that we're going to have to start doing too is just reliable announcements of what's going on, and maybe breaking down for folks. We're Monday, we're going to, if people want to tune in Monday, we're going to be talking about having our virtual boot camps and what that's going to entail. So if you want to be a part of those meetings, to be part of our virtual boot camps, maybe we can make that part of the boot camp is finding out exactly what people need to do to protect themselves, and real news, real news of what the coronavirus is and how to prevent it.
Español.
Que nosotros vamos a hablar un poquito del centro de Florida y un poquito de lo que he escuchado, lo que está pasando en Puerto Rico. Y le estaba diciendo que nuestra hermana que estaba hablando antes que yo, estaba hablando que ella no entiende exactamente qué es esta enfermedad, cómo se transmite, qué es lo que hay que hacer para evitarlo. Y estoy diciendo, nosotros como PoorPeoplesArmy y PPEHRC vamos a estar teniendo lo que se llama los bootcamps en el internet, para que, y si uno quiere estar parte de esas reuniones, para ver, maybe esto tiene que ser uno de los temas que nosotros tenemos que hablar, es orientar a la gente qué exactamente estamos luchando en este momento. So I'll put that aside right now about the virtual boot camps and talking about unity. Everyone's been hearing in the news that we need to put our differences aside as human beings. The powers that be, even they understand that this can be very divisive when people do not have resources, and even they're preaching unity to their benefit. But we need to really be out here talking to our neighbors and being worried about their mental health. I know we're worried about people, housing people, feeding people, and that is a priority. But being isolated for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is, in your home, being poor, nobody worrying about your mental health, that can be just as dangerous for poor folks. So one of the things that we're talking about is how are we going to keep people's mental health up, and what we can do to help. Here too, we need transportation, food, all of those things that we need in the rest of the nation. The only thing that's a little bit easier is that here it's warm. Where I know up north, you guys still cold out there, huh?
Oh, it's nice today.
Sandra?
Nice.
Yes. Also, we had to cancel our Florida boot camp along with our youth council meeting, but hopefully while we're setting up these online boot camps, we will be able to keep that going. Also talking about presentations, and or while people are on this are in this quarantine phase, you know, like my mom said, when it comes to mental health or just activities that we're doing throughout the day, you know, if we're just keeping communication open between everyone, and just to keep our spirits up and, you know, make sure that, you know, within this, what's happening now, there's a lot of like, you know, racial things going on. There's a lot of like disunity going on, and we really need to be united. You know,
serve as an example, the Poor People's Army, that it is possible to be united during crises. And I know that we have always been multiracial, multi-generational, but I think that we need to see if we can get our message out there even stronger. And if folks can help us out with resources, I think that we are veterans in how do we get unity accomplished, how we get people working together. And so.
Oh, and we also, along with donations and things like that, because people are going to be needing within the next couple weeks supplies. So we're gathering up our troops.
Wrap up.
Okay, we're going to be gathering up our troops, and here we're going to be doing donations and things like that. And I think throughout the country we should be doing the same.
And we already have areas who don't have supplies, that people are working with nothing, having food stamps in their hands, but don't have a ride to go get supplies. The country keeps talking about get your supplies, but no transportation.
All right, next we have Michelle from the East Coast.
Hi, everyone. I want to tell you about about our People's Innocence Project and why it matters to the Poor People's Army, because a lot of people in the prison system are are marginalized than poor people. It's a failure of justice. The wrongful convictions in the United States. 4.1% of inmates on death row are innocent, and at least 340 by the United States people have been executed by the United States government since 1973. These are families that are broken for decades. Their mothers, fathers, sons, uncles, sisters, husbands, and brothers. Executions of wrongfully convicted people is the ultimate injustice. The 2018 National Registry of Exonerees showed victims of wrongful homicide convictions accounted for 68 exonerations. The majority of wrongful convictions were obtained by police and prosecutional misconduct. 107 of perjury cases were accusational. There were 14 DNA exonerated cases, and all of the cases showed police and prosecutional misconduct. 2.3 and 5% of all prisoners are innocent, and up to 10,000 people can be wrongfully convicted of serious crimes every single year. The mass media distorts the public perception of crime by overrepresenting certain races and genders as criminals and victims. And this also includes marginalized people. Americans in the prison system that are prisoners are locked up, and Americans are locked up more than any other population around the world. Prisoners live a life where they're locked up for 17 hours a day. They live desocialized and isolated lives. And the US prison system is a punitive system, not a reform system. No innocent person should serve time in prison for a crime they didn't commit. People must believe that wrongful conviction is a crime committed by our justice system, and that it's just as important as catching people who committed the crimes is wrongful conviction. If we don't believe that, then the system is just creating more victims. It's not helping victims, which is what our criminal system is supposed to do. And so I hope that more people will understand and realize that wrongful conviction is a crime, and that there are people serving life sentences and people that have been put to death that were innocent.
Free Matt.
Next up, we have Reverend Bruce Wright. Are you with us, Reverend Bruce? Reverend Bruce is in the South.
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, there were some people who were going to be on to give reports, and for various reasons they can't get on. One of whom is a homeless veteran that we're working with, and he is a double amputee. He was put on the street. He's homeless, and the Veterans Administration, and I'm going to call them out, in Bay Pines area, or Bay Pines Veterans Hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida, put him out, and he's on the street. His name is Bill. We're worried about where he is right now because he is very, quite frankly, suicidal. And this is what the whole coronavirus pandemic panic is causing. It's also becoming a means by which the wealthy 1% can capitalize off it and make money off a disaster. We have another gentleman from New Orleans, Malik Rahim, who was one of the original people on the ground when Katrina happened some 15 years ago. He's been having difficulty getting on. We are from Middle Tennessee, and just south of Nashville, that was just hard hit by a tornado. And on top of that, we're dealing with this COVID-19 and the lockdowns that are happening in our state. As of Monday, Florida is going to be entirely locked down. They're shutting down beaches, libraries, and even shelters are turning people away, as well as people trying to get food. We just experienced this on Wednesday. Homeless folks are being restricted in number and to go into soup kitchens. We did a meal share on the street in St. Petersburg, Florida, Wednesday, only to find out that most of those folks, which were dozens, were being turned away from soup kitchens and or limited in their ability to get in soup kitchens. Regarding Tennessee, there's 11 of us that live in our home. More than half of us are other abled or disabled with disability pending benefits. Some of us have benefits, some don't. There's difficulty in getting resources and getting people to where they need to get the help they need. I am a formerly homeless man and am disability pending myself. And what we are seeing is widespread reports. I'm also director of an organization called Refuge Ministries, which is in 8 states and 3 countries, including Sierra Leone, Africa, Haiti, and England. And so there are huge numbers of folks in the states that we're speaking of that may not be represented on this call that are experiencing all kinds of difficulties, lockdowns, things akin to martial law happening with National Guard troops coming in. And in relation to some of the states, such as Washington State, we have people there, even though they've done a better job of responding, the government there, those folks are still being underserved, and particularly indigenous populations there. And these are reports we have received directly from people that are our affiliates. In Georgia, our main contact person is currently in the hospital. We don't know what his situation is, but he is director of one of our programs outreaches in Georgia, and he is a military vet. We have not been able to get any information thus far on his situation, but this is widespread stuff. The other thing we're getting reports from is
soon, Bruce.
The other thing we're getting reports from is in Pittsburgh. There is, among other many other cities, Asian people or people that are thought to be Chinese are being targeted. This is being reported from one of our people who is of Asian descent. So this pandemic is causing widespread problems, and that's why we are trying to form mutual aid networks as Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign. Thank you.
Woo!
Next, we have Jamal Johnson from the East Coast.
Hi, I'm Jamal Johnson, Poor People's Army. I'm working with Poor People's Army in light of, in addition to, the coronavirus situation that's going on here in Philadelphia. But at the same time, I don't want to lose sight, and we are still fighting against the endless homicides that are occurring here in Philadelphia and across this country. This virus in itself has to be stopped, and we of the Poor People's Army are out here on the front line trying to do that along with other organizations. Coronavirus is definitely something that we are aware of, but we don't ever want to let that overshadow the fact that many of our Black and brown children, women, are dying in the streets. We want to always let children know we love them, we care for them, and we want to save them. And that's part of the job of the Poor People's Army. I'm asking anybody that hears the sound of my voice to think about what you can do to help us as you also go through this trying times of the coronavirus that's happening in our country. But please don't ever minimize the lives that are still being lost on the streets. Every day, even as of today, there have been people being killed on the streets throughout our country. And we want to do whatever we can to stop it. I personally have charged myself with the effort to do this, and I have asked and have gotten the support of the Poor People's Army, and my comrades and I will not stop until we do all we can do to stop this unfortunate virus in our community. Please know one thing. The Poor People's Army is not a one-dimensional situation here. We attack different situations. As a matter of fact, with the situation going on now, we are providing food to people. We pick up, we drop off, we help the elderly, we help the poor, we help those that can't help themselves. But in addition to that, we still have to attack the unfortunate situation that was going on before the coronavirus hit our country. In other words, this is a war. The war against crime, the war against death in our streets, and the war against this virus. Thank you.
Next, we have Alan Harris out in the Midwest.
Hello, everybody. I'd just like to say a few words in support of this entire effort, and to say a few words about the coronavirus and also the political situation in this country. This virus is obvious to everybody except the president. This virus is extremely serious, and it's a real crisis for the nation, and in particular for the proletariat, for all the poor people in this country, for all the people who have been dispossessed and will be dispossessed here in this new economic crisis, which is really the real outcome of this situation here. There is a real existential threat, to people's health with the virus. There's no doubt about that. But as everyone can see, this is also the start of another worldwide crisis in the system, and the system is really taking a giant step closer to its own demise. And so, how do we survive this? how do we stay united and organized and grow and survive and fight on to survive this crisis, to survive capitalism, and really come to power and finally put an end to all these centuries of misery, and build a new world, you know, with all the wonderful things that now exist. This can all be ended, but only we can do that. It's clear, if you've seen the news last night, it's clear that the people in Washington have care nothing except their own interests and their own money. Okay, and we have to take their place. That's what I want to say about that. In Chicago, the situation is dire. It's in many of the neighborhoods. Most of Chicago is basically neighborhoods, and many of these neighborhoods here are desperately poor, and and there are tent cities springing up all around. We're there's going to be in Chicago next week a memorial for one of the fighters in the tent cities who froze to death this past winter. And we're going to use this memorial to tell the world about who he was. His name was Wayne Warren. But we're also going to use this memorial to indict everything, the entire system, and indict all these people who are perpetuating this. There are enough right now. For instance, they're talking about sending money. They're going to send money to everybody. Okay, that's great, but why stop there? My question is, why stop there? There are in Chicago, there are enough vacant houses, vacant homes to put everybody into a home. I mean, you don't have to live in a tent. You don't have to be out in the cold. Okay, they don't do that.
Thank you, Alan. We're gonna have to wrap you up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next, we have Nick Carmack, Temple University student.
My name is Nick, and I just want to speak for a minute about, you know, what students are going through in this, you know, this current crisis we're all facing. You know, a lot of people think students as a privileged class of people, and as in many ways we're privileged to have this, you know, education. However, it's not like it used to be a student. You know, myself, I will end up graduating in as much debt as my parents were when they bought their first house 20 years ago. You know, there is an increase in debt, increase in cost of living, which we get very little help with, and an uncertain lack of work in the future. We don't know what the job market's going to be like, but we know that there's going to be less jobs. While we have mass amounts of debt, we're not going to be able to repay that. And in this given crisis right now, many of us are pretty vulnerable. You know, colleges are shutting down across the country, and people are getting kicked out of their housing, kicked out of their dorms. Many of us don't have a family we can go stay with, and that is our only avenue. At Temple University specifically, over 30% of students are food insecure, meaning at least once a month they don't know where they're getting their next meal. Food pantries have popped up all across this country over the past few years to address the issue, because it's growing in every corner of this country. And during this crisis, these food pantries are closing. And much of these food pantries are ran off volunteers and donations solely, no money from the institutions. And yet we're left to fend for ourselves. while we still pay astronomical numbers in tuition. So, you know, that shit's got to go. We can't stand for this anymore. And like I said before, college students are a relatively privileged group of people, but many of us are poor, and that number is growing. So, of course, you know, we call for free college. We call for many different patch solutions to this, but that's not going to be the issue. The issue is we need a redistribution of wealth, because if that was the situation that was happening right now, us poor college students, you know, all the poor people across this country wouldn't be in the compromised situation we're in, not knowing where our next paycheck's going to come from. And that is really what we as a Poor People's Army are calling for, is we demand a redistribution of wealth.
Next up, we have Liz Ortiz from the East Coast.
Hi, I'm the Poor People Army, and I'm here today to discuss about this virus. Like yesterday, I was in my therapist, and it was overcrowded, and there was had people that was trying to get inside, so they take an hour to interview you and stuff. I had to make a show and say, excuse me, I'm already been here for so many years. They just have to give me my medications to get out. So they gave me my medication and I left, but I still left about 3 hours. But my concern is that my human system is low. But I know there's a lot of people that have the same problems as me, and I have health problems, like I had a triple bypass and stuff like that. And I'm saying to myself is like what it will do to us, what it will do to me. Like we don't know who got it, who don't got it, or they cough, whatever, everybody just panic. So like yesterday I was in Walmart, and what people was doing, like 2 people was fighting, other people was robbing. Like I do, that's called survival. They try to do the best thing they could do. And in Puerto Rico, what they did is they shut everybody down. I have a recording, and what I need everybody to do is record and let you know, so you can have things about what's happening in this life, because I have things in my phone. Now, where I live, they have security being the cops, because right now we don't even see cops. I don't see none at all. So I'm saying, where are these people at? Like they supposed to be out here. No, they have the security being a cop now, taking the kids out, giving them tickets and stuff like that. And I'm like saying, okay, where the cops is at? Nowhere to be found.
¿En español?
So yo lo que digo es que yo tengo cosas que graben, todo lo que pueden grabar, porque yo tengo cosas de Puerto Rico que está cerrado, nadie puede ir para ningún sitio. Entonces tienen que grabar todo lo que pueden, porque eso es bueno para uno tener en la vida, para enseñárselo a la otra persona, para que todo el mundo sepa qué es lo que estamos sufriendo, como yo, que parezco decoración y todo eso. Y no, algunas veces ya los doctores no lo quieren entender. Yo llevé a una muchacha al doctor a llevar el bebé. Lo primero que chequearon, si tenía fiebre o no. Si no tenía fiebre, lo iban a mandar para otro sitio, porque no quieren entenderlo así. So, por eso yo lo estoy diciendo, que todo el mundo graba lo que pueden grabar y diseñan qué es lo que está pasando, porque ya yo se lo pasé a Cheri para que lo pase esto para todo el mundo. So I'm just letting everybody know. God bless y'all. Try to do the best thing you can, because it is stressing. This is very stressing for everyone.
Thank you, Liz.
Next, we're going to go to Lisa Richards in New England.
We have one more finale.
We have one more speaker. I don't know what happened to Lisa from Massachusetts. It's one of the areas where it has the highest, some of the highest cases. I think she might be back. And now we have Lisa Richards.
Richards. I'm a mother of 7. I live in Athol, Massachusetts with my husband and our 5 school-age children. Our children are among those in our community that are not only trying to survive, but thrive daily with the following diagnosis: multiple learning disabilities, emotional mental health issues, intellectual disabilities, a very rare genetic disorder, autism, and level 3 dyslexia. The current virus that we're all facing is causing chaos with the serious services provided to disabled children and adults that can be a nightmare to navigate and manage on a daily basis already. These services include the following: medical appointments being canceled until, medications needing to be tweaked and availability to doctors being interrupted until. This will cause hospitalizations that otherwise are completely avoidable. Speech, occupational, physical, and emotional mental health therapy are all canceled until further notice, causing treatment plans to be interrupted. Most state and federal funded programs are closed, so families' needs are not being met, and paperwork already submitted are now being held up and tying up financial support, including respite funding for families who depend on every available dollar. School-age children who receive year-round services are now being interrupted and will cause serious delays and/or loss of new skills they have learned so far this school year, causing trauma to our community members. I also would like to share that the supports I have listed take many hours of advocating and oversight for our loved ones year-round at school and with the state and federally funded programs. You only get what you're organized to take, as these are our basic economic human rights.
Thank you, Lisa.
Now we're gonna bring Tot Metz here on the East Coast.
My name is Tot. Today or tomorrow, I have a poem I've written. It's called Dark Clouds. It says, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Being homeless, most don't seem to care. They say things like, well, at least you're still here. What they fail to realize is that my body is in a chair. All this pain feel like I can't breathe in a fresher air. I'm stressed and losing follicles of my hair. How dare you speak on me and my situation? Meanwhile, with all this madness I'm going through, losing ventilation, missing out on pieces of the world during my enduration, they say time is not on our side. We can seek above that if we just had the time. It's a scary dark cloud out there floating above us. It's been there for a while. I'm screaming, wake up the people now. But am I even conscious of myself and other people? Missing pieces of the story. Let's find the next sequel before they destroy what's left of you. Let's get on down like James Brown and dance to the Negro spirituals. They have said it will get to this point. This is just a bigger problem. One step closer of having any valuable is this capitalist economy, it's morale. Afraid to leave a house when a home is more of my style. I don't have money saved up for a rainy day. Oh, the government should know why. You work me like a slave to get pennies on my dollars taken away. Uncle Sam, go to hell with the taxes just to live. Taxes my ass. Being homeless is a hassle as is. Time, they say, is not on our side. We can seek above that if we just had the time. It's a scary dark cloud out there. It's been floating for a while. Do you know it takes a village to raise one child so the child can raise the village? The life I was given didn't come with a privilege. Slowly slipping through the cracks in the system. If I'm in a cage like an animal, they raise the cops' pensions. It doesn't make sense. They close down schools and then they wonder why the youth don't listen. Now it's time for a brighter vision. Go ahead, sign up now. The revolution will not be televised. Instead, it will be joined by hands of the Negroes, of the indigenous, of the whites. It will be us as the people as we unite. We don't live in fear when we have a greater fight. Time, they say, is not on our side. We can seek above that if we just had the time. It's a scary dark cloud out there. I can hear society cry. When we lift every voice and sing to earth and heaven ring, we won't have to search for any identity. This is when we have beaten them at their own game. We are granted our dignity, humanity, and most importantly, unity. Life is hot and cold, ups and downs, back and forth, wins and losses. It's going to be sunshine and some rain. Ask yourself, can you weather the storm until sun shines again? I am today or tomorrow.
Woo! Okay, now to sum it up, people are going to see placed up on the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign and Poor People's Army Facebook page, and we want to share the hell out of this. The various different links, how you can help out on the West Coast, how you can get involved in the South, the Midwest, New England, you name it. I think that we all know we've got to stop the violence. We've got to stop the violence here at home. We've got to stop it abroad. We've got to stop the killings. We've got to house people. We need universal health care, single payer health care. We need to free the prisoners, release the immigrants. We've got to address the serious life and death issues that the disability community are addressing right now. Climate change is just as deadly. We're having to deal with that simultaneously. We need to go online, and we need to begin to support people that are active on the front lines, that have been doing this for a long time right now. We are the elders. We are the ones in the housing projects in the tent cities, doing the housing takeovers, that live on the reservations, that are demanding the release of immigrants from jail as well. We need to come together. We've got to stop taking direction from people that are not inside the boxing ring. We need to believe in ourselves right now. We need to believe in each other. We need to practice the politics of love. We need to begin to gather as many resources as possible and bring these to the different bases of the Army across the entire country. We are going to feed our people. Even if they begin the propaganda that says that we're the looters and we're the people that need to be killed and all of these kinds of things, we know that we're practicing the politics of love. We're going to work together, we're going to be disciplined, and we're going to make sure that things like feeding, clothing, and housing people is not up for negotiations. We are not going to let people die in our prisons because they are left there to rot. We are not going to not check in on our elderly because they institute martial law. We're going to make sure that we take care of each other, that we uphold people's human rights agenda, and that we take care of each other in this country. Most importantly, if you have skills, we need your skills, we need your cash, we need your food, we need your everything, we need supplies. Don't just go down and support some kind of charity effort. This is a different process. This process is about burying a system that has buried our people and will continue to bury our people in this country. So let's take this opportunity to take the steering wheel. Let's drive this thing to free our people towards liberation and towards uplifting all of humanity. We care about our brothers and sisters around the globe. We will be lifting up what's happening to them in this crisis as well. Go to economichumanrights.org, livesoverluxury.com, and let's make sure that on opening day of the Democratic National Convention, whenever they decide to have it, we are going to go to get our 67 cents out of every dollar because we believe in lives over luxury. Thank you for joining us today.